Hello and welcome to Pressure Point. I'm your host, Barbara Anderson. This week our special guest is Eva Manly, a visual artist who works in the medium of video. Welcome to Pressure Point, Eva.
Thank you, Barbara.
Now, you are an artist who comes from BC originally, but you did spend a fair number of years back in Ontario, down east, and are back in BC now.
When I was in BC, I was actually an early childhood educator, and then when I went to Ottawa, I did a Bachelor of Fine Arts at the University of Ottawa. And it's really nice to be back on the BC coast where spring comes in February.
We hope it's here to stay. Now, why did you choose the medium of video? You say a visual artist who works in the medium of video. You obviously then have done some other artwork in other medium.
Well, I went to university with the intention of being a painter, probably a portrait painter. And I ended up working primarily in photography and non-silver photography, and became acutely allergic to all the chemicals I was working with. And when I was at university, I had done one video, and I used video as a portrait medium, and did a video portrait of a feminist folk singer. But I didn't go back to video after I became allergic to chemicals. I didn't go back to video until I had been down to Mexico for a Latin American Women's Film and Video Festival. And I saw 13 days of work done by women from South America, Central America, and the Caribbean on a wide range of issues and differing styles. And I was so inspired by them that I came back to Ottawa and joined the video co-op and started to learn how to use the equipment.
Well, let's just go back to that festival. That sounds very intriguing. What got you to that festival in the first place?
Actually, it was a chance encounter with a woman from Regina who I met at Grindstone Island at a popular education week where people were developing skills working in as popular educators in their own communities.
So you heard about the festival in Mexico and decided to go.
Right.
And then did you meet some of the women who were actually producing the films, or was it just watching their films at that point?
No, there were lots of opportunities for meeting with the film and video makers. And also we, in addition to looking at people's films and videos, we spent a couple of days strategizing about sharing skills and working to show their work in North America. There were women there from the United States, Canada, and England, as well as the women from South and Central America.
Now, how long ago would that have been?
And that was the fall of '87.
Fall of '87. So there's a real group of women who are continuing on working in video. That's not part of the mainstream, is it? I mean, we don't see those videos up here very often. You have to go to a festival to see those. To
festivals, or you can sometimes see them through places like Video Inn. Recently there was a touring show of Chilean women's video work that toured through the alternate galleries in Canada.
I don't want to dwell on this too much longer, but I know that a lot of people think of the countries you mentioned, the Latin American countries, as places where there are development issues that are really important, where people are living in conditions that would not be the same as what we live in here in North America. How is it that the video is going on there? The video art is not a cheap art. It's not something that people can just, pick up and decide to do tomorrow. There's a certain amount of money required. Any thoughts on how video artists, a large number of them, could come out of those countries?
The really interesting thing is that the largest number of delegates from a diversity of racial backgrounds actually came out of Cuba and Nicaragua. In most of the other countries, it tended to be women who came from a background of some privilege.
So, in other words, if they weren't subsidized by a government that had a lot of subsidy, perhaps a socialist government, then they would have to have some privilege involved.
Right.
Now, you came back from that festival and you came back to Ontario, and you decided to do a video, produce a video on your own?
Well, I decided that if they could do the work they were doing with their limited facilities, it was time for me to overcome my fear of technology. And so I joined the video co-op and started learning how to use the camera and do editing. And I did a script writing workshop in which I developed a script proposal that was based on the story of a close friend of mine in Ottawa, herself a Chilean refugee.
So you chose the story of a Chilean refugee to be your first script, your first video. Was it because this woman was a friend, or because of the issue that was compelling to you?
It was because the issue was compelling, and also because she thought it was an important. When I suggested making a video with her story, she was really enthusiastic about the idea, because she felt that it was a story that needed to be heard, so that when people were confronted with the experience she'd had, they wouldn't feel as isolated as she had been.
So what was this video called, and tell us a bit about it?
It's called A Few Questions, and it's about Leonor Leon, who came to Canada following the overthrow and assassination of Salvador Allende in Chile, and about her experience of becoming a subject of first of all surveillance and then interrogation by police
in Canada.
In Canada, for reasons that she didn't know. And so the video is really a docudrama about her experience, and in which she plays herself.
So this woman is playing herself, living through that again, the
Right.
experience of what would you call it, harassment by the Canadian police?
Yeah.
Was that hard for her to do that? Did you have a hard time convincing her to actually play herself?
It was very, well, no, she was the one actually who suggested that she would play herself. I had thought in terms of either hiring an actor, or actually I should say finding an actor, because I didn't have any budget. This was done on a very low budget. Or perhaps having one of her daughters play her. And she was the one who suggested that she would play it herself. And I think it was a very difficult experience. And it raised all kinds of issues within her family that had not been resolved at the time that this experience took place. So it also was it raised the issues and brought them out into the open. And then through the process of making the video, it also led to reconciliation and healing of some issues that had been buried.
So art becomes therapy in a sense, in this way.
Yeah.
Where was it screened, and where has it been screened? Where can people view this video?
Well, initially it was screened, because it was done on a small grant from Saw Gallery. It was screened at Saw Gallery, and then as part of the Ottawa Festival of the Arts. And then it was chosen for a national festival called Images 89. And it was screened with a video made in Victoria, also about refugees, by two video makers. This was called Creating Bridges. And then it was, it had a number of screenings across Canada in alternate galleries, and was part of the Cuban Film Festival, which is the Latin American Festival of New Film and Video in Cuba.
I wonder if it might be appropriate at this time to have a look at a scene from that video called A Few Questions, and just see a little bit about that film, and then come back and talk a little more about that.
Okay.
Let's have a look at that film right now, A Few Questions by Eva Manly.
Mrs. Leon,
Yes?
I'm Corporal Jackson. This is Constable Smith. I talked to you earlier today.
Oh, yes. Please come in.
We just have a few questions we'd like to ask. When did you come to our country?
A year ago, I think I was interviewed by police when I arrived here. Why is it necessary now?
Oh, it's just routine. We're just trying to see how you're making out in Canada.
Oh, I'm doing quite well, thank you.
Are you alone here?
No, I have my 3 children.
What do they do?
They're students.
Are you renting this place?
Yes, I do.
Who pays the rent?
I do, of course, from my work.
Does anyone else live here?
Not at all.
But you do have many overnight guests.
Oh yes, I have a lot, off and on.
What nationality are they?
Refugees from my country. I give them temporary shelter I help them out while they're looking for a place where to live.
Are they all from Chile?
Yes, all from Chile.
How much do you charge?
Nothing at all.
Then why do you do it?
Well, because there are people in distress.
Do you hold meetings here?
What do you mean by that?
Oh, I mean when you get together a number of people to talk about a particular subject.
Oh, no, I haven't done it here.
Do you go out much?
Yes, a lot. If I invited to talk about the situation in Chile, for sure I should go.
Who tells you to do that?
Nobody tells me to do that when I feel that is my obligation to talk about the situation in Chile. I don't need to be told.
But you are in our country now.
Yes, I know that I'm in Canada and I'm very happy to live here because it's a free country. What I'm looking is to look for more solidarity with my country.
Who invites you to do that?
Oh, different organizations, say churches of different denominations, community groups too.
And of different nationalities.
Probably.
Uh-huh.
AJCC Refugee Committee, Leonard speaking.
It's Corporal Jackson here. We'd like to have another friendly little chat.
Again? I thought you have already finished last time.
There are a few questions we forgot to ask.
Could you do it?
Very powerful video, Eva, especially given the fact that the woman is playing herself in that video. And certainly it goes on more and tells the story of this woman and what happens later on. I think what you said was about 30 minutes long?
It's 32 minutes long, yeah.
What eventually does happen at the end? Does it get resolved? Does she actually resolve this issue?
I'd actually like to leave that open so that people will want to go and see
People want to go see it. Okay, well that's fair enough. Fair enough. And where can they go and see it?
And if people do want to see it, they can get it through Women in Focus on Beatty Street.
Okay, so
and
it is available in Vancouver.
Yeah,
Women
it is
Focus.
available. Yeah, and it's also a very contemporary story.
I was just going to say it's a very contemporary story because we're now at this point in time while the Gulf War is on. We don't want to date the program too much, but there are certain people that live in Canada right now who may be undergoing some of this questioning by government agents, police, because of their own background, whether it be religious or ethnic.
Right.
And have you had response in that way to this video from those people?
Every single time this video has been screened, I've had one or more people say to me afterward, I had an experience like that, or it happened to a friend of mine. And I could actually make a whole series of tapes about similar experiences.
These experiences from refugees, immigrants, who kind of people are we talking about?
A wide variety of people, refugees and immigrants, but also peace activists, union people, Native Indians, usually, people who are active in social issues of one kind or another.
Did you have any problem producing this video from the police yourself? From the authorities, from government?
Well, only when we were shooting the scene just outside police headquarters, I was setting up the camera. And it was a Sunday afternoon, the street was very quiet. And as I was setting up the camera, policeman came out and said to me in a very gruff voice, "What are you doing here?" And I looked at him and I said, "Well, I'm setting up a camera." And he said, "Well, what are you going to be doing?" I said, "I'm making a video." And I said, is there any problem with that?" And he said, no. He said, "It's just that my supervisor will probably ask me what you're doing." And I said, "Well, I'm an independent video producer and I'm producing a video." And he turned and left.
So you had no problem after that?
No. I mean, it was a public street.
So you had every right to be there,
Right.
outside of the police station. Now, you have made other videos that deal with other social issues, and maybe before we get into that, the next video, have all your videos been dealing with social issues? Is that a primary concern of yours?
Yeah, I see video as an ideal medium for storytelling and for people's stories, especially the stories of women, to be brought out, because so often women's stories are not heard or are lost in the shuffle. And so I began with video as a portrait medium, and I still see it as a kind of portrait medium. And I've always been really interested in the issues that people confront in their lives. The next tape actually was a short spoof on Canada-US free trade negotiations. And that was really done as a fun project, but it ended up in a Festival of the Arts in Ottawa called Work in Process. And then following that, I did a longer tape, a 45-minute drama on unplanned pregnancy and decision-making that was based on interviews with women from coast to coast.
Tell us about that particular video. It deals with a subject that is very controversial, and you said you interviewed women across Canada. Mm-hmm. How did you do that?
Well, initially I contacted women that I knew through other connections, women I'd known through the United Church Task Force on Sexism, which I had participated in for 2 years, and also women I knew through my political activities, and asked them if they could put me in contact with women who might be willing to share their personal stories of unplanned pregnancy and how they resolved their difficulties. And so I interviewed women who had given babies up for adoption. I interviewed women who continued the pregnancy and struggled with single parenthood. And I interviewed women who had made the difficult decision to have an abortion. And I used these were all taped on audio tape, and I used these tapes as a basis for writing a script that used as many of the stories as I could.
So in the video, did those actual people tell their stories again, or did you have actresses telling the stories?
No, I worked with actors.
Why did you work with actors in that particular story? When you had, for instance, in a few questions, you had a woman who actually was portraying herself. Could not some of these women, or did they feel that they just couldn't come out and tell the story in front of a camera? They could tell it to you in private, and so an actress had to tell the story. What was there difference?
Well, I was surprised by the number of women who would have been willing to go on camera. And if I had been traveling with a camera instead of an audio, with the tape recorder, I could have used stories from the women themselves. But I was doing all my shooting in Ottawa and Toronto. And one of the things that I said to women at the very beginning was that I would not use any of the material directly. So I just felt that having stated that it was important to follow through with it.
To protect their anonymity.
Yeah, and for numbers of them would have been quite prepared to have been participating in the tape and have their names used. That wouldn't have been a problem for a lot of them.
Now, in this particular video, which is 45 minutes long, called "The Story to Tell You," you tell the stories of many women, but you focus on one particular woman, don't you, in the story? And could you tell us a bit about that person that you focus on?
I focus on the story of one woman who is a character who has been traveling, doing research, and has an intellectual understanding of the issues that women are facing, and then finds herself pregnant and has to confront the issue on a very personal level. And as she's thinking about her own situation, she reflects back on the experiences of women who've shared their stories with her.
Let's have a look at that video now. It's called "A Story to Tell You," and it's by Eva Manly.
It couldn't happen to me.
Salut, ça va?
Hi. I didn't expect you back so soon.
I got back a few hours early because I really need to talk to you.
But you knew I was going to Toronto. Well,
Now?
my flight leaves in an hour. The taxi's waiting. I just came for my suitcase.
Pierre?
I thought you were going tomorrow.
I'm not. When you phoned me yesterday, we agreed it was your decision to make.
I know, but I can't decide without talking to you. What you think matters too.
I'll support whatever you decide, but right now I have to pack or I'll miss my plane.
Your interview isn't until tomorrow afternoon. Can't you go tomorrow morning? I really need to talk to you tonight.
No, I can't. I'm being briefed tonight to prepare for the interview. Can you help me fold this shirt?
Who's briefing you?
Your friend Olivia. So like I said, it's up to you.
Say it's up to me, but I get the feeling you're not really keen on this pregnancy.
Well, the timing could hardly be worse.
I know. I don't know what to do. That's why I want to talk to you.
What about your work? Are you willing to give that up? You could hardly do the traveling you've been doing.
I thought maybe you'd want to stay home with the baby.
Stay home? We don't have a home. Here we are living in someone else's house, surrounded by someone else's things. And
You know, I thought we were talking about staying home with the baby, not about housing. You really don't want a family, do you?
I'm not sure how we'd manage, unless I get that job, but I won't get the job if I miss the interview, right? Look, we'll manage somehow. Come on, cheer up. We're in this together, okay? You'll figure out something. Look, if you want to talk, phone me. I'll be at the Diplomat. I gotta go or I'll miss my plane.
Bye.
Eva, what's been the response to this video?
To the
A
last
Story
one.
to Tell You.
Many women have come forward to say, I have a story to tell you, and I could keep on gathering material. Actually, I've considered doing some work with a book, but I think that more and more people are feeling that it's important to tell the stories and to discuss the issue out in the open, because there's a growing recognition that every woman is entitled to make decisions affecting her own body, and certainly entitled to make all her own ethical and moral decisions, that other people can't make those decisions for her.
It is a controversial subject. Have you had people who have a belief about the other side, that abortion is a wrong choice to make, complain about this video? Have you had people, other women, who have said this is not the kind of video that I would like to, or not the kind of story I would like to tell?
Not to date. I haven't had any of that feedback.
What other projects have you got on the back burner, as it were, or on the front burner at this point in time?
Well, last May, I spent 2 weeks in El Salvador along with Jan Bullman from Vancouver, shooting video of women in El Salvador. We went down with a group called Action Committee for Women in El Salvador. which is an organization that raises funds for women's projects. And we took 2 video cameras and have video interviews with women from all walks of life. And we did a couple of video workshops and then left 1 video camera with one of the unions, so that the women in that union are now making their own videos.
Have they sent you anything yet?
No, not yet. No.
So you have a lot of footage that you have to put together.
We have 40 hours of footage that we have to try to edit down to something usable.
Perhaps we can have you back again when you have that in shape, and we can talk a little bit about that particular project.
That would be great.
Now, a story to tell you, the video that we just recently saw on the clip from, is people can see that coming up soon. There is a screening of that video. Could you tell us a bit about where that screening might be held and where they could go and see that video, and if they miss that screening, where they might go?
Okay. The screening is part of International Women's Week, and it's at Cinematheque on Howe Street between Helmicon and Davie, and it's on Sunday, the 10th of March at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it'll be followed by a panel with Dawn Black and Joy Thompson. And the tape can also be accessed through the Canadian Filmmakers Distribution West.
So if they miss the screening, they can find the tape at Distribution West.
Right.
Where do you go from here as a video artist, and as particularly as someone who brings a particular commitment and a particular point of view to your art, from a commitment to social issues?
Well, I have a number of possible projects that are just in the development stages right now. And one of them relates to a group of women that I've known since they were 15 years old and are now adults, and I may be making a tape with them.
Great. Well, it's been very good to have you on the program, Eva. Wish you all the best in your work and in your screenings, and perhaps you can come back again and share some more of your work with us as you go on in your art.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on The Pressure Point this week.